Once upon a time in Black entrepreneur history, there lived an African American man named RENE DeMortiie. And I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He became a very influential businessman, owning a retail and tailoring business while employing African American and white people in his huge sassafras oil company. Let's get into it. So it was in 1829 that RENE DeMortiie was born. He was born in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And then later, he and his mother moved to Boston, Massachusetts, that is. Now, when he turned 26 years old, he worked as a bootmaker in his own shop. It was here where everyone could see that he had an entrepreneurial mind. Now, it was in 1870 that he married into a well-known family, a lady named Cordelia Downing, the daughter of George Thomas Downing, a well-known African-American businessman in Washington, D.C., who owned his own restaurant right there at the Capitol. They actually got married at George Downing's house at Capitol Hill. It was described in the papers as a brilliant affair. There are 100 African-American guests. And there were no toilets back then, like we have today. So the fact that there were toilets at the wedding was the thing to talk about. Yeah. Back in the day, they only had outhouses mostly. Not at this wedding. Plus, there were displays of diamonds and satins and laces. And I quote, being as elegant as any fashionable event ever witnessed in Washington, in the 1870 Daily Express newspaper. Now back to DeMortie Sassafras Oil Factory in Virginia. The factory was named DeMortie & Co. It was his biggest business venture and lauded by the media. It occupied a large frame building and had an engine and boiler of about 16 horsepower and an improved cutting machine of their own design. What was also great about the Sassafras Oil Factory is that it employed African American and white people. Many in the area were able to make money for their families. So more about the business, the sassafras tree was used to make the oil, and DeMortie's oil was 10 to 12 degrees purer than the rest of the oil in the North. According to the Richmond Dispatch newspaper of 1871, quote, these enterprising black men have made an example in the way of manufacturers, which we would like to see followed, not only by their race, but by more of our white population. End quote. RENE DeMortiie set the standard. Now, DeMortie was also the co-founder of the Crispus Attucks Club, and he is also said to have given his money freely to the African-American soldiers of the 54th Regiment when they went off to war. The Civil War, because the government wasn't going to pay them anything. In today's dollar, he paid those soldiers about $300,000 over the course of 2 years. DeMortie passed away in 1917 and may he rest in power.